All right, welcome everybody to another edition of the Dad at Arms channel. I'm your host, Dad at Arms. I also go by Colt, and with me today is my good friend, Joshua Hesselgrave. How are you?
All right. How you doing, Colt?
I'm doing good. Now, did I
Yeah.
pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes, Hesselgrave.
Hesselgrave.
Hesselgrave. Yeah.
Cool name. Sounds like my kids are playing Elden Ring right now, and so it
Yeah.
sounds like
It's a
either
good
a
medieval
location in
name.
that game. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. The Hesselgrave. I like it. Anyways,
I'll keep it.
we are here today because we're going to talk about your upcoming, soon to launch Kickstarter project.
It's
That
actually
is,
already launched.
it's already launched.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're good.
Okay. Well, why don't we jump right into it? Introduce yourself
All
and
right.
what it is you
So,
do.
so I'm Joshua Hesselgrave, as Colt said. For the last 10, 11 years, I've gone by the name 8-Bit Hero. Uh, it's my art handle. Couldn't even tell you how I came up with the name. Just started, kind of fell into art. Not an artist by trade, not an artist by training. Um, just something that in my middle ages figured out I had a knack for, and just kind of ran with it. So,
Awesome.
as Colt and I've talked, I pretty much do everything I do is based off the Mega Man body sprite from the old NES game. Just kind of redefining all pop culture in that medium. Seems to have struck a chord with people. I generally do shirts, decals, do in-person shows frequently. Probably one of the big highlights that I've done. There's a collectible line, Pixel Pals, that I was asked to work on as a contractor, kind of based on my style. So it's nice to have some collectibles out there that were on shelves that I designed. So not at all where I expected any of this to go 10 years ago, 11 years ago. But here we are.
And I think that's so cool when people follow their passion for doing something and it pays off
Yeah.
in a meaningful way. Obviously it's good to do, to follow our artistic endeavors regardless, but it does seem a little bit special when I hear these stories of, people like you that get to do these bigger projects
Yeah.
because you dipped your toe into something that you were passionate about. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. I kind of fumbled my way through for a long time. It took me probably 2 or 3 good years before I actually considered myself an artist. I'd look at all these people that have all this talent doing, drawings and digital art and paintings and all this stuff. And here I'm just moving little squares around on a computer. And uh, like I said, I have no formal art training. Everything I do is in MS Paint. If it was good enough for 1985, it's good enough for now.
Well, and I
Um,
think I think that helps add to the nostalgic value of what you do too.
I am as authentic as it gets.
Yeah.
Kid from the 80s doing stuff from the 80s on equipment from the 80s. Um, that, like you said, it adds to appeal. I, I tell my kids all the time, one thing about technology that we lose is that um, the more technologically advanced we get with the tools we can use, we seem to lose that idea of creativity. We rely
Hmm.
on the technology to become creative, the special effects, the video editing, the auto editing, the auto tune, all that stuff. And, this is something that I know I'm not the first person to do Mega Man styled sprites. I know I'm not. But to me, taken to an art form where I'll sit there maybe for an hour moving pixels around. Just doesn't look right. And you're going for the perfect aesthetic. It's not just getting it done. It's turning it into art. And man, for the longest time, I didn't want to call myself an artist because it was I felt like I was trying to fool people,
Yeah.
and people
Yeah.
refer to me like, I just kind of play around with this. But like I said, 10, 11 years later, done thousands of characters, sold thousands of shirts. I've got some officially licensed product out there. Never expected any of this to happen like this. Done a comic book cover for a friend, and been asked to work on, music artists, album stuff, just odds and ends that without the internet there, to me, that's the tool I use to get the medium out there to show off what I have and connect with people. And the thing is, at the heart of it all, I enjoy it all. Being able to do something that I enjoy. I often think, would I want to buy something? Would I want to wear something that I designed if I saw somebody else doing it? And I would. It's something that I know it doesn't click with everybody. That's fine. Doesn't click with my wife. She's real. She's my true test of if I've really made it recognizable. You know, to do it, there's that certain aesthetic you've got to get, and the first thing you've got to get is recognizability. If you're doing different pop culture, you've got to make sure you've got it recognizable. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
could do He-Man, but you know, doing a character like Mosquito or you know Stinko or something that's a little more obscure, I've got to get that. I've got to nail the aesthetic of it to make it recognizable. And I frequently will go to her and well, not frequently anymore. Hey, you know, do you recognize this? And it is very rare that she does, but she's not a pop culture nerd. I just finished up doing a set of Sesame Street characters. She
Oh, fun.
recognizes that. Anything outside of that, or say Star Trek, maybe. I, you know, I think I showed her the Breakfast Club, and she thought it was. She thought maybe it was Star Wars or something. You know, she's just so stop gauging that. I know it's not for everybody, but for the people that are, for people our age that grew up in the '80s, I seem to strike a chord frequently with those that played the games during that time period, watched the cartoons, read the comic books, played with the toys. Um, that's kind of what led me to doing Masters of the Universe. Is the resurgence? I know there's always been a fan base. There's always been
Mm-hmm.
a strong fan base in it. You know, with the different lines. I reconnected with it back of the 2000X series, but knowing you know the Matty Collector doing the classics line, keeping it going for so many years, where there was actual toys out there, whether there were cartoons or not on the TV or not, and then with the resurgence with the Netflix series and you know the Origins line and you know the Turtles of Grayskull stuff, and knowing that they're doing you know the crossover with Thundercat, you know knowing that the fan base is out there, uh, you know that was my goal, was to connect with you know people our age, younger, that have you know that found the series since then. My 14-year-old daughter, I caught her a month or two ago. I'm in doing work, and I hear in the other room the He-Man theme song playing, and I look in there, and she's sitting down there watching it without me there. Uh, you know, that's what I'm going for. You know, and to reconnect, like I said, with the project, um, instead of just doing a few, just really try to put it out there, the whole line, playing a tribute to that early mid '80s, what started it all, and give it that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Hopefully
Cool.
that's enough there for you for an intro.
Yeah, that's a great intro. So why don't you give us some details about the Kickstarter project
Okay.
that
So,
you're running with this? But first, kind of before we get into it, let me show people what we're talking about here. And I'll post better images of this stuff, but this is the work you do.
yeah, that's our main poster for the project.
And this is just, I mean, incredible. I love the card, like each character has like the classic card back art for it that came with the toys, you know, and
I
it
appreciate
it
it.
is it yeah, it is
There's a
very
lot of
nostalgic, and
hours.
it hits that nerve very well.
Once I committed, I was stuck to it. A few years back, I did a similar poster for GI Joe. I did about 80 characters. Decided to kind of give it their card back feel with the you know, instead of just putting their names on it, putting you know, counterintelligence or
Yeah.
ninja or so I started doing. I had to take a break for about a year and a half. Job I had, I just didn't have time to do art. And when I came back, I thought, you know, it's been a while since I've done Masters of the Universe. Really like to do it again. Somewhere around there is when you and I connected,
Yeah. Yeah.
and was getting ready to start up again. And I thought, you know, why don't I try and do a card back? And I even tried at one point, and I just couldn't get the aesthetics right. Gave up on it. Came back to it a month or so later. Felt like I got a good card back set. Hey, you know, I'm going to commit to this. And it's 64 characters on the main poster. It's also on the shirt. As you showed on the poster, each one has that card back kind of look to it, pixelated look to it, with their name, with their description underneath. The shirt just has their name on it. It was a little too small print to go that small for everything, but didn't really feel like it was enough to just have the characters on there. So played around with a couple ideas and ended up with putting Grayskull at the top with He-Man and Battlecat and Skeletor and Panther. It is what it is. So that's the main thing for the project. Named it Masters of the Pixelverse.
Love it.
If you search for Kickstarter on that, I know you have links for it, but we have the print. We have a set of 2 prints that features He-Man and some of the heroes, and then one with Skeletor and some of the villains that's in there. We also have we have shirts. We partner with the company that makes some very high quality shirts. So we have an option for that. I do micro decals, something I do with things on the side. They're all about a half-inch wide, maybe, a real tiny, super detailed though. They're all in action poses. It's Grayskull with 12 of the heroes and 12 of the evil warriors together. I think that's all. I think we also have a basic our logo for the project available as a decal also.
Very cool.
So the print itself, tried to go with the card back, tried to also do a nod to the cartoon by going more the Filmation look for the characters that were in the original series, to kind of give them some uniformity. So that's the project. It's pretty straightforward. Launched last night, still already have a few backers. Honestly, I tried to make the bar very low. I try to make the bar very low for everything with myself, but I figure if I make the bar low and achievable, that we can guarantee that it gets funded and can start getting things out. So that's it in a nutshell.
Awesome. What's your funding goal?
Our funding goal is $750, which really is pretty accessible for the cost of the prints and the shirts and the decals. We should, as much support as I've already found out there's going to be, it should be something we can achieve.
Awesome.
Then we'll start looking at stretch goals. I'm getting ready to start on, probably by the time the video airs, I'll have started on doing characters from She-Ra as a bonus tier. We've got some ideas, got some other shirt ideas we can put together. So trying very hard to make it something possible, not necessarily for me as it is something, this is my tribute to the series. This is my way of adding something to the culture. Hundreds of thousands of fans that interact. My way of sharing something with somebody that's going to connect to it, maybe stir up something of their childhood, some good memory they've had. That's what this is about. This is what it's all about. I mean, nobody's going to get rich off this kind of stuff. I'm not going to retire because being an artist. So if I can do this in a way that I'm not personally paying for it, that can share with those that connect to this, that's what it's about for me. It really is.
Cool. Very cool. I love that. One thing I was thinking about as we were talking, looking at this print that you did, what it reminds me of is, do you remember going into stores and seeing the stands, like the cardboard stands?
Yeah.
That had all the action figures sitting on it. That's kind of what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
I love it.
Definitely. Thanks, man.
Yeah. No, this is really cool. And we've got the main print. You also sent over a bunch of these really cool stickers and decals. Do you call them stickers or decals?
I go decals. They're vinyl, so sticker to me is a little more flimsy. Laminated vinyl's a little more.
I mean, these are fantastic. And then you even did a custom one for me, which is so charming. Look at that.
I'm glad you appreciate it.
The little pixelated dad at arms there.
It's
I love it.
It took me all of a couple minutes, but hey.
Well, thank you.
It's okay. It's there's some easier things. I think we talked a little bit before about doing some of the more complex characters takes a little more time to make sure the aesthetic. I've actually read up some the creator of all the visuals for the original Mega Man games.
Okay.
The guy pretty much became the only guy working on it after a very short time, and looking at what he came up with at the time where there was no reference to anything. He was kind of blazing the trail. I have to remind myself at times that given time I can figure something out. There's an intimidation that kind of comes to some of this, at least for me. I don't know how other artists deal with it. over a decade now, there are characters I always wanted to do, Masters of the Universe characters I wanted to do, completely intimidated as to how I would even consider doing it, how I would start to do it. And I think even taking a break for a while kind of helped me click in the idea that I can figure anything out, given time. I can, at the very least, I can make it look the best I can make it look. It might not be perfect. It might not be exact, but at least it's the best I can do. So doing something like a custom view is very simple and something I've gotten down pretty quick. So it's no trouble.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm glad you didn't have some weird horns or, some strange appendage or something I had to do, but
no, like I said, it's very flattering and it's very sweet. So thank you.
I'm glad you appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how can people find the Kickstarter?
Well, right now, everything, my main link is at www.8bithero, that's 8-bithero.com. As my dad used to ask me, what's a bithero? And to explain to him, that's not the case. That goes to a link that shows you our store, our Instagram link. The main link on there is our Kickstarter that you can follow. As we talked before, I apologize. I'm not a behind the camera guy, so if you can go through the introduction and just bear with me that you're not supporting me, you're buying the product. That's what we're going for. Yeah. You can find all our links at that site.
Okay.
Very and I think we'll probably have the link in your comments once this airs.
Definitely. I'll add the links every time I share it and in the show notes on YouTube. So
I appreciate
we'll get people to
support in this, Colt.
Yeah, this is really fun. So, now that we've, kind of talked about the Kickstarter project itself, let's jump into, I have a few questions for you as a, one fan to another.
Sure.
What is your personal history with Masters of the Universe? I know we're both 80s kids, so.
Yeah. I just turned 49, so I feel like being born in 75 kind of hit that sweet spot. Star Wars was there when I was a kid, and then got into the G.I. Joe, Transformers, Masters of the Universe, Thundercats era. I personally think our generation kind of defined pop culture. There was a lot beforehand, but I think we kind of latched on to in our childhood. We kind of created that idea of holding on to those things that were in the media around us. It was kind of crammed down our throat, but I think we've taken the best away from it. I was not a Motu collector as a kid. My parents, I should ask my dad someday. My mom's not alive, but I should ask my dad someday why. I was limited to Star Wars and G.I. Joe. So I don't know if it was just the scale. I don't know if because I had that scale, they didn't want to venture outside of it. But, I'd go to my friends' houses and play with, Transformers and Masters of the Universe and just loved, I think my favorites have to be Trap Jaw and Ram Man. And it was just, I still remember playing with them at friends' house, and then we'd leave and I'd ask for them at the store and be told no. But, I reconnected with it again, when the new series came out in the 2000s. Mm-hmm. Reconnected, started getting the collectibles. I was an adult collector at that time, could actually get what I want. Nobody could tell me no.
That's right.
Except for my wife. Appreciated the sculpts, appreciated the series, the Four Horsemen action series, that kind of stuff. Just really found a great appreciation for it. Stayed with the line through the Matty Collector stuff for a while. Honestly kind of lost track because I kind of got in the weeds of some of the characters I wasn't real familiar with at the time. Hadn't really gone back and watched the series for a while. So, kind of lost a little bit when I saw that they were coming out again in the stores with the Origin series, started back up again when Walmart was carrying them. I think I found a real passion for it again with the Netflix series. That kind of relaunched the imagining of it and showed the creativity that's still there.
Yeah.
I've since gone back, rewatched the whole series. I spent a long time where I didn't want to go back. I'm not a big retro, like if there's going to be an updated version of something, I'd rather have it, rather see it. I prefer the Origin. If I'm like blaspheming, but I prefer the Origins line over the classics. I'm an aesthetics guy, and I prefer the look of them. So going back and watching the series, a lot of the old cartoons that I watched as a kid, I didn't find very tolerable for a long time. When I go back and try and watch it, just too many cringeworthy moments of, I find Orko annoying, or Snarf was, just intolerable, or whatever. A few series I couldn't even get through many episodes, but I don't know what clicked where I just found a better appreciation for it now. Maybe knowing where they were going with the Netflix series, knowing that they understand, at least in my mind now, they understand the absurdity that nobody knows Adam's secret identity,
Right.
or
right.
how they would feel when they find out they've been lied to. I don't know if that just put it in place where just found a new appreciation for, again, and doing this project kind of helped fuel that again. Find some more of the characters, since I never had any of the, the original toys. Studying more of what the toy line was, making sure I was getting all the right ones. Really diving into it more just kind of fueled that enjoyment of it again. So that's where I'm coming from.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. No, and I think I agree with you. I think, we're kind of in this, I call it a renaissance of Masters of the Universe. I think we have more stuff available now than we did in the 80s.
Absolutely.
We've got multiple toy lines, and now we've got, like you were talking earlier, we've got the crossovers with the Turtles, which is a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
That
was a great interview, the last one you had with
the
creators of the comic series. That was very insightful, very good to watch.
That was a fun one. I've talked with Tim Seeley a few times about his comics, his Masters comics, and I've always liked his work. And talking with Freddie Williams, I fell in love with his art way back when he did the Turtles versus Batman crossover series. And I've wanted to chat with him for a long time. And then they had the initial Ninja Turtles crossover that was canceled.
Yeah.
And then just to see it coming back again, I mean, it's incredible.
Well, that's why I feel like for the most part, Mattel owning the license, that they've understood the fan base. They're understanding it. The recent Snake Mountain, fans aren't interested. There's negative reaction to it, so they do the poll and they put it on hold. I mean, that's
they're trying.
They're trying
to, and that goes a long way. I think it shows that they care.
That shows it's not just making money. I mean, ultimately it is making money, but they understand how to make it is to make people happy.
Right.
Like I said, when I worked on the Pixel Pals line for a couple of years, and the company that did it, great company, Performance Design Products. They're the largest secondhand game controller peripheral company, at least in North America. If you're not buying a controller that's an Xbox brand, you're buying PDP's stuff probably. They're great at what they do, and they want to venture into collectibles, and that's where the Pixel Pals line came up. The vice president saw my stuff. They thought about making a line. They went some traditional characters first, then they went with stuff. And part of the reason they brought me on was just the insight that I have into the collector community that they don't have. And ultimately, I feel like the line failed in longevity because they didn't really take much advice from me, but they didn't have an understanding of what fans were looking for on price point, on availability, on character selection. It was a little frustrating for me to find out after designing for 6-7 months that there was a brand team working on it also that was taking some of my designs and changing them. And it's, some of the stuff out there is partially mine, but then the aesthetics and it, the OCD in me just cringes that, you have somebody you bring on for aesthetics and maybe there's licensing issues. Maybe there's, different things behind the scenes I wasn't aware of, but to not have a feel for what collectors want, for what your target audience is looking for. And I feel like Mattel's really got that right now, that they're trying to listen. They're trying to give people what they want because they know in the long run, they're going to profit from it. And, that's a great place to have a line. There's a few companies that can do that. I'm always about objectivity, trying to remind myself to be objective, get outside of what I think is good, what I think is right, what I think is profitable, what is a good idea, and kind of get that bigger scope. And I think we're in that place now where with feedback from the internet and forums and message boards and everything that, there's no reason not to have successful lines that fans want. And when you have such a large fan base like Motu, you should be able to make something successful without ticking everybody off.
Right.
At least that's where I feel like we're at. That they're listening, they're adapting, they're evolving their plans, and that's a neat thing to see. It's a something we never saw as kids. There was no feedback. There was just, if it doesn't sell, you cancel the line. If you know
Exactly.
if the girl figure doesn't sell, then we just don't make girl figures. We're in a different place, and it's
Yeah.
a good place. It's a good place to be.
It's a good place. And I think in addition to that, I think we have so many fans that are working in a professional capacity on this line.
Absolutely.
Um, it really is a brand, a franchise that's been kept alive by the fans, and
Yeah.
it's flourished because of it. And now
Yeah.
we're kind of reaping the benefits of all those years and all those passions of so many different people.
Yeah.
That it really is something special. And
Absolutely.
we came out with the new Netflix series, and it it was one of those things where it had the internet thing that comes attached with it, unfortunately, where people want to be negative about
Yeah.
anything that comes out these days.
Yeah.
um, but you start hearing these rumors about things that they're doing with it, and you start wondering, are they going to be true to the thing I love, or are they just going to
Yeah.
take it and ruin it? And then you watch it and you realize that no, these people know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And I watched, part one of Revelation when it dropped. I watched it and I was dumbfounded by how much I liked it and how
Yeah.
heartfelt it was. I was like, this is what I like to see.
Yeah. I
from
know I
Masters
had
of the
very
Universe.
low expectations.
Yeah,
We're in an age
yeah.
where there's so many things that they get wrong.
Mhm.
G.I. Joe movies and Transformer movies, and there's parts they get here and there, but um, Star Wars, the new stuff. Like I've learned to have very low expectations, so I try not to be disappointed. And I was hooked. They
Yeah.
really captured, like you said, they captured the essence of what it is.
Mhm.
And
And they took it seriously. They didn't treat
yeah,
it as a joke,
yeah,
but they I guess grew up. The series grew up
yeah.
for the fans. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Well,
it
they had
dealt
a
with
way of explaining it all that
yeah,
made sense. I love
exactly.
one of my favorite comic series was when Jeff Johns took over the Green Lantern series, probably mid 2000s. I haven't read comics for a while, but you know, I just remember him taking some of the around the same time. I think he had Brad Meltzer's Identity Crisis. They took some of the dumb things of old comic books that were just believable. Green Lantern can't handle yellow. Like
Yeah, yeah,
just as a kid, I remember thinking that was the dumbest thing. And they found creative ways to not retcon it out, but to explain it. And I felt like the series had that they could explain away some of the things that seemed a little off here and there in the series that you don't really think about as a kid, but as an adult, you're like, really? But I felt like they handled it in a way that showed it was safe. That it was in good hands, that they knew what they were doing. They understood the property. They understood the passion behind the fans that, I wish more things could do that, could have that
right.
objectivity, not only be run by fans, but be run by people that see the value in the fans and give them something that they want. I think so many people, like you said, the negative comments, I think people have just become so jaded that
Right.
that's just the expectation is they're going to ruin something. And some people can't see past that to enjoy what it is.
And often they, their mind is made up before they go into
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
And so, but yeah, and that kind of, I mean, Revelation was kind of what started me doing this channel and these interviews.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I watched part one and I immediately, sent a message on Instagram to Ted Biaselli at Netflix. I basically said, hey, I know there's a lot of negativity out there right now, but I just, please know that I'm a fan and there are other fans like me who really appreciate what you guys are doing. And from that, I didn't expect him to respond. He's a Netflix executive, but he responded to me and we've formed a really wonderful friendship because of it. And he's a fan through and through. He's probably one of the biggest Motu fans out there. and
Yeah.
it's just amazing. And it's when people are negative about these things, I just kind of want to like grab them and shake them, and be like, no, we have it pretty good right now. We have fans who
Yeah.
understand this thing, working on it. Like, what more could you ask for?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know. So, but yeah, and here we are now. We've seen Revolution. Hopefully, we get another season in that, but there are more things in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not over.
It's
Yeah.
not, and I think it's just a good time to be a He-Man fan.
It is.
And so,
Absolutely. And I
yeah, and
feel like
so
it's bringing in some newer,
yeah, it's bringing in new
it's
fans
always
too.
neat to see. I recently did a series of wrestling. I'm not a big wrestling fan. My knowledge goes back to, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling,
Yeah,
some of the main 80s stuff. I've done some 80s stuff, and I get requests a lot to do modern wrestlers. And I know some of the big names, The Rock and, Steve Austin, that kind of stuff. But the more I got into it, studying and asking for feedback, I realized how much of wrestling is people passing it on to their children.
mm-hmm.
You know, um, my dad, my uncles, they knew Dick the Bruiser. That's what I heard about in the house. They knew Dick the Bruiser. They'd have dinner with him, and it never really clicked with me. But if he was on, I'd watch him. Knowing there was some kind of connection, and seeing people that grew up with it in our generation that then passed it on to their kids. Now their kids are passing it on to their kids, and they're taking their kids. I kind of see Motu becoming that, where I'm seeing more and more people. Now there's more toys out that are accessible. People showing pictures of, I showed this is my kids collection, this is my 12-year-old's collection, this is my 10-year-old's collection. It is something that gives that longevity now. I think you've had lines like Transformers that's always been the case. There's always Transformer toys on the shelf, so it's easy to constantly put that out. I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the same thing. There's always Turtles out, so it's constantly building that brand for longevity. And I think that's kind of where we are now, where it's starting to become more accessible with more cartoons, and not including the She-Ra cartoon they put out. The newer one, what little I've seen, I'm not sure that's something we want to encourage for longevity. But overall, just seeing how it is being more introduced into a new generation, and it's not going to die off when all the 80s kids die off. It'll still be around. It'll still exist. It's nice to see.
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is a good time. And I talk to my wife all the time, and she's very supportive of the things I do and the things I collect. I mean, I have an entire room full of toys and stuff like that. And it's just, I like talking to people who have a passion for the same things I do, and a passion for anything, honestly. If somebody's passionate about something, I will sit down and listen to what they have to say. But it is special when I get to talk to people, like you, who have taken that passion to the next level and put something out into the world for others to enjoy. So, as a fan myself, I just want to say thank you for having that positivity, and
I appreciate that.
And sharing your positivity with
it's all about making money. That's all it's about.
At the end of the day, we all just want to be rich.
Yeah.
And we all know that's a lie. I've listened to you talk here for the past 30 minutes. I know.
I hope I passed the test.
You have a heart in it, definitely.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah. I don't know if I have any other questions for you. This has been just a fun chat, and
I appreciate
hopefully we can get the word out there for your project, and you'll see success.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Colt.
Is there any other final thoughts you want to add for people listening? Where can they find you online? Aside from the Kickstarter project,
I am at www.8bithero.com. It links to everything.
Cool.
All the updates I do are mainly on Instagram. It also links to, we have an Etsy shop. I've got probably a few hundred sets of decals in sizes. I do shirts there. Links to, I'm on TeePublic. Done several shirts there. I don't have as much on there. But that's where I've got a few officially licensed. I got a Star Trek shirt, a Borderlands shirt that's officially licensed there. Again, stuff I never expected to do. So I guess the one thing, is just to reiterate that I'm a fan just like everybody else. And, I used to go to conventions and I see people set up, and you know, the last 10 years, I've learned to get over the intimidation of understanding that, you know, everybody's just, they're just people,
Yeah.
you know, and I think some of them forget that they're just people, but it's neat. You know, I am just somebody that, you know, when you asked to interview me, I had to sit there and question why. You know, I'm not, you know, you just come off, you know, you're doing interviews with comic writers and artists and people and I'm literally just a middle-aged guy pushing squares around on a computer screen. And, but, you know, I know that it does make a connection with people. Like I said, not everybody, and that's fine. You know, I'm perfectly fine with that. But for the people that does connect, I try to bring something enjoyable to them. That's what I'm here for. That's literally what it comes down to. Just a fan trying to share stuff with other fans, and that's where I'm at. That's what I do.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thanks again, Colt. I appreciate
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah, no problem. This has been fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, and to everybody out there watching, please follow the links below to support this project, and go ahead and follow Joshua on Instagram and on Facebook, and just, if you can, consider, you know, supporting and
I guess that is the last thing. If you can support the project, there's a statistic I read: 80% of people in Kickstarter projects forget to ask people in their videos to support the project. So I won't be one of those. You know, supporting the project in any way is very helpful to making sure that we get this out for whoever.
Definitely. And I know things are tough. I don't expect people to have unlimited funds and stuff like that, but
Absolutely.
you know, even if you can't financially support, there's always support through sharing,
there's always
and
sharing
getting the word out and stuff like that. And that's, you know, just as valuable. So
yeah, definitely appreciative.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, anyway, and I think that'll wrap it up for us today.
Thanks again, man.
To all the viewers out there, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and share this interview, and I appreciate all the support from people who follow me and are into what I do. So thank you, and thanks to my guest Joshua.
Thanks again, Cole.
All right, we'll see you later. Good journey.
Thanks.